rockets. Hey, it's me, Vicki Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. Now, I know I've caught a lot of people out with this live. I've literally just gone up. For anyone who doesn't know me, my name's Vicki Marie. I'm a YouTuber. I'm based in Spain, and I talk about true crime cases. And the reason that this is completely, that I'm on the avatar, I'm not really organised yet for the day. Literally not only been up maybe 40 minutes. I got up at 7 o'clock this morning, Spanish time. And as usual, check to see. First thing I do when I get up is check to see, well, when it's a day that the court is sitting, check to see if there's any result yet in the Erin Patterson murder trial. And yes, finally, a verdict. And you know what? Not only a verdict, but it's the right verdict. The right verdict. You know, I feel quite emotional this morning. God knows how the people that actually are involved in this case, as in it is their real life, and God knows how they feel. It's just so emotional. This has been, wrong one. This has been so long. 2 months, or is it even 3 months? You know, I've lost track of time with this case. This horrible woman guilty of murder. And we felt she was guilty, didn't we? But you know, you always think, oh, well, everyone's entitled to a free trial. A fair trial. You know, innocent till proven guilty, etc., etc. But you know, the evidence has stacked up so much against Erin. Each piece of evidence, each testimony that the prosecution each witness that they brought, over 50 witnesses. And each thing in itself was not enough to convict Erin, I don't think. Each individual piece of evidence, if that would have been the only piece of evidence, Erin would not have been convicted. But you put all those pieces together, plus the lies that Erin told, lie after lie after lie. And although the judge said, you know, this wasn't a trial, she wasn't on trial for being a liar, God, the jury wouldn't have been out as long as that, would they? If it was a trial for lying, she would have been found guilty within 30 seconds, because she is a self-confessed liar. But basically, Erin's defense was, yes, I lied. I've told loads of lies to the police, to everyone. Lied about having cancer. Lied about not foraging for mushrooms. I've lied about not having a dehydrator. I've lied about having an upset tummy. I've lied about going for a poo in the bush on the way to when I was in the car. I've lied about all those things, a million lies, but I'm telling the truth now. That's Erin's defense, basically, wasn't it? So, you know, I slept really well last night, and maybe I sort of knew what was going on, or had an instinct, because I haven't slept well for ages. And of course, this case has dominated our lives as well, because we've been covering it. We've been looking every day, the testimony, the closing arguments from the defence and the prosecution, the judge's instructions, which went on for 4 days, 3 or 4 days. So there's been some justice for 3 of these murder victims. Don, Gail, Heather, all died after going to lunch with this woman. Ian survived. Heather's husband, Ian, survived. And now she's finally getting her comeuppance after all this time. Horrible woman. You know, and a lot of people saying, what about the motive? Doesn't matter about a motive. Erin's motive was spite. Nothing more. Some people are spiteful. Erin the Queen Bee, Erin Miss Moneybags, you know, Lady Bountiful, as long as everybody, you know, gave her the attention she was due. As long as as long as everybody, you know, bowed down before her and realised she was the most important thing. Everything was fine, wasn't it? Yeah, do you want some money? Oh, yeah, I'll do this. Oh, I'll help you with that. I'll help you. Do you want to come round for lunch? Yeah, as long as everything was okay. And then as soon as things started, she started getting her nose pushed out of joint, not getting invited to family parties from her in-laws. Simon saying that he was separated on the tax form, even though it was her who wanted to be separated from Simon. What she wanted was to do what she wanted. She didn't want Simon, but she certainly wanted to still be the queen bee in that family. Queen bee in everything. Erin, spiteful. I think this picture of her just shows her true character. It's like for a moment the camera caught her true inside. That is Erin Patterson. So anyway, literally, we're coming into this together this morning because I've literally just got up, seen it on the news and jumped on live. I'm not ready. I've got classes later. So as I'm talking to you, I'm going to be putting my makeup on. Not on the camera, not today, because I'm not prepared for it. I don't mind doing that. I don't care. But yeah, I'll be getting ready as I'm talking to you, and we're going to go through what's coming out on the live blogs, because of course we've only got the live blogs and the news, because remember this case, it wasn't televised. But we have had updates all the time because the press were allowed to be there. And although they weren't allowed to take photos and things like that or videos, they were allowed to report to us what they saw. So that's where we're getting our information from, sort of second-hand, third-hand, if you like. Yeah, guilty. So I'm going to look at that in a minute. I just want to say a quick hello to everybody who's in the chat. Hello, lurkers. Hello, replay crew. Hi, Katie. Yes, it's such a relief. No, and that's how we feel. Imagine how Ian feels. You know, Ian, the only survivor. It's probably a mixture of emotions, isn't it? Because, you know, nobody wants to think that somebody deliberately tried to kill them. But he must feel that he's got justice for his wife, mustn't he? Hi, Angel. Hi, Jane. Oh, thank you, Angel. Yeah, I've sort of, it's been, what's the word I want to describe? You know, it's something that I've had to stick through, but it did go on a lot longer than I thought. And Maria. Hi, Maria. Hi, Joanne. Yeah, I wonder if the Erin mural is still there. They put a mural up, didn't they? Remember that? I mean, ridiculous. But it's like they can move on now, the families. I mean, so much more is going to come out. You just know that, don't you? Now the trial's over and the gag order, you know, people will be able to talk openly about things. I wouldn't be surprised because it'll all come out about Erin and how she tried to kill her husband. I think we can safely assume that she probably did try to kill Simon as well. You know, there's so much more to come out in this case. But of course, we had to have the verdict first, didn't we? So let's have a look. And then I've got to go and get my makeup and everything, and I'll be putting that on as I speak. So yeah, let's go to the bottom. So the jury has reached a verdict in Erin Patterson's murder trial, finding her guilty of 3 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder. It's very emotional, isn't it? So she's guilty of all that. So to us, we thought, I mean, so I think I went into this, I go into every trial thinking that the person is probably guilty. And I know that sounds awful. But the thing is, for the police to get a case, any case in any country, if the police have got a case as far as a trial, then they have to be, they wouldn't get that far, wouldn't get to a trial unless pretty much the evidence was overwhelming against the person. Now, then things can come up at trial, trials can go wrong in that sense. But literally, if the police or the Crown Prosecution Service or whichever country you're in, the DA if you're in America, or the grand jury or whatever, if they decide that a case can be taken to trial, it's probably already 80% certain that that person is guilty, because otherwise if they wouldn't have had enough evidence, they wouldn't have been able to push it over the line for a trial. So I do sort of tend to go into trials thinking probably guilty, but there's always that room for, you don't know what the defence is going to come out with. There may be something that's not been considered or something new that comes up. So you go into trials with an open mind, but knowing that there wouldn't be a trial at all unless there was, enough proof that it has got through the DA or the Crown Prosecution Service or the grand jury or whatever. So coming into this trial, exactly the same for me, sort of thinking probably Erin was guilty, but let's see what happens in the trial. And of course, as soon as this trial got going, really, it didn't push you into the feeling that, oh, maybe she's innocent, did it? Because the lies, and I know she wasn't on trial for lying, but, as much as the judge was trying to say to the jury, she's not on trial for lying, don't think just because she lied. I mean, lying doesn't make you a murderer automatically, does it? It doesn't. But the thing is, it was the volume of lies that Erin told, and the type of lies, and the way she tried to discredit everybody else, and the way that she pretended she couldn't remember anything. And then that day, I think that prosecutor is very clever, because I think that day when the prosecutor talked about something that happened one day and said the wrong day, and Erin just came straight in and went, oh, sorry, actually, it was a Friday. Erin, who had said that she couldn't remember all sorts of things. Oh, I'm not sure, couldn't remember. Suddenly she could remember that it was, it was the 22nd of April, the 22nd of April 2022. It was a Friday. Nobody would remember that unless they had a reason to remember it. So suddenly Erin's memory was razor sharp, wasn't it? So I think the prosecutor, do you think she did that on purpose? I think she might have done that on purpose to try and show that Erin's memory, because she brought it up in her closing arguments as well. So I think she did that on purpose to show that, in fact, Erin is as sharp as anything, or she thinks she is. Because people keep going on, that she was intelligent. Simon said she was intelligent. Her work colleagues said she was a genius. She thought she was a genius. She thought she was. She wasn't. She's a thicko who thinks, she's one of them thickos she's got a level of intelligence. But typical psychopath is that she just overestimates her intelligence, doesn't she? Doesn't realise. She thought she could pull the wool over the police's eyes. She's an entitled, nasty, vindictive woman who's probably been, pulling the wool over Simon's family's eyes, not because they're not intelligent, but because they're trusting and innocent. These people that she killed, they're lovely people. They're nice. What can you say about them? They're nice people. They would have been treated Erin so nicely, and all the time she's snidely laughing at them, for their beliefs in God, for their religious beliefs, for their niceness. She's thinking, she's so much more superior than them. No, this family, yeah, maybe they did think Erin was very intelligent, because Erin is intelligent in a snide way, isn't she? Anyway, that's the impression she gives me. Horrible, horrible person. So, hi, Cows England. So, sorry, I'm just making sure I missed anybody. So, yeah, in we went to this trial and Erin's lies. And don't forget, the jury were there, actually there watching her speak. So of course we've been worried, haven't we, that maybe the jury, was there enough evidence? Because it's a big responsibility for the jury to find somebody guilty of murder. Erin won't see the outside of a prison, will she, the rest of her life? So she can take her money and stick it up her ass. Maybe that'll be a cork for next time she's got diarrhea. She can take her money. She'll use her money one way or another in prison, I'm sure, but she's not coming out of prison. So I just want to go to the poll. So, the poll that I did. What do you think the verdict will be? Not in your opinion, wasn't it? It was what you thought the jury would find. And a lot of people were concerned, because even though they might have thought that Erin probably was guilty, it's what the jury were going to find, isn't it? So we've got guilty as charged, 77%. And I think with a lot of us, that was probably wishful thinking as much as anything. Anyway, 5% thought the jury might find not guilty, and 18% said, I don't know. So you were all right. You were right. We were right. So the trouble is always that reasonable doubt, isn't it? So, we didn't know. We didn't know but the jury, they heard all the evidence. They saw everything firsthand. They heard Erin's testimony for 3 days. So Patterson had pleaded not guilty to murdering 3 relatives and attempting to murder another by serving them beef Wellingtons containing death cap mushrooms during a lunch at her home at Leongatha in regional Victoria in July 2023. Now, although this is a good result, of course, we have to remember 3 people are still dead. 3 people are still dead. Hi, Sean. But she just thought she was superior, Sean. I think, it's hard to understand Erin's motives. Can't get inside the head of someone like Erin Patterson. She thought she would get away with it. She thought she would get away with it because she thought she's superior to everybody else. She'd probably been planning it for ages. Don't forget, she was a super sleuth. She was right into true crime. She had not just suddenly decided to wake up one morning and go and get these death cap mushrooms. She'd been planning it. She'd been looking for them. She thought it all out, and she thought she'd covered all angles. But what she underestimated, really, I think I praise the hospital for this, more than the police, really, because if the hospital would not have discovered so quickly that it was death cap mushroom poisoning and frightened Erin, honest to God, her jaw must have dropped when she went to the hospital and they said, we think it's death cap mushroom poisoning. That's when she discharged herself after 5 minutes, because she had to rush off and try and dispose of evidence. She never thought she was going to get caught because she thought she was superior to everybody else. Okay, let's go back to the stream. So, Patterson's parents-in-law, Don and Gail, both died after the lunch. So these are the people that count. Don, Gail, and Heather, and Ian, of course, who is alive, but, he only just survived. I just want to dedicate this video to them. I'm going to put that, because the hell that Ian has been through, The whole family. I mean, and also I want to spare a thought for Erin's children as well, because they have not only lost their grandparents, now they've lost their mum, really, haven't they? To know that your mum has done it, to find it, because they will find out, of course. Well, you can't hide it from them. It's the most famous case Australia's ever had, probably. So I presume they'll go and live with Simon. That might not be ideal, because Simon, although he's not a murderer, maybe Erin was a better mum than he'll be a dad. You know, everyone kept saying what a fantastic mum Erin was. You know, but was she though? Was she really? Because she was already putting dried mushrooms in their cupcakes, in their chocolate cakes and things. And yeah, maybe a good mum at the moment. What about as years come and she starts having problems with them when they're teenagers? You know, you couldn't trust Erin with children or any animals, anything. Can't trust Erin with things and people, because it's so, once they stop being useful to her, they're collateral damage as far as Erin's concerned. I mean, it's thought anyway that the aim of that lunch really was to get to Simon, but he didn't go, did he? Simon must be kicking himself, because he should have not let his parents go. I mean, I say that, not let them. How could you stop them going? But he should perhaps have said to his parents, look, don't go because it's dangerous. But how, you know, I think you've got to be, if unless you're in that position, how would you say that to someone? Because I think Simon probably had suspicions about Erin, but he didn't, you know, what's he going to do? So I think Erin's trying to poison me, or just sounds ridiculous, isn't it? Because people, you know, believe me from experience, with all times when you feel in danger from other people, people will try and talk you, no, they'd never do that, no. You know, and you know inside that they would exactly do that if they got the chance, but nobody, sometimes people won't see it. She's a horrible woman, isn't she? So let's just going back. So she's guilty. She's a murderess or a murderer, you know, because we're supposed to be gender, not identified genders now. So she's joined that very elite group of women who have murdered. It's unusual for a woman to murder, but when they do, it's normally by poison or something more, you know, not as, you know, men murder in a different way, I suppose. Now, I'm still not sure. Maybe she didn't mean to murder them, but she meant to cause damage to them. Maybe she did overestimate the number of mushrooms she put in there. Maybe she just meant to make them really ill. But I don't know, with those death cap mushrooms, you don't mess around with them. I'm sure she'd researched them enough to know that you can't, you know, you can't think, oh, because she was measuring them. You know, we saw the photo. Well, we didn't see the photos, but the jury saw the photos of them on the weighing machine, didn't they? But she was measuring them out and maybe she over, you know, put too many in, or maybe she did mean to kill them. Either way, she meant to harm them. So it's still murder. She sat there with those people. Let's think on about this, what she did. She arranged it, she planned it, she took a long time planning it. She'd had those death cap mushrooms for ages, just waiting for the right time. Maybe she was sort of half thinking about doing something at first, and then maybe she thought, oh, I don't know if I can, or but I just keep these death mushrooms just in case, death cap mushrooms just in case. And then whatever pushed her over the edge. I think, you know, she is mentally ill, but not mentally ill in a way that she didn't know what she was doing. She's mentally ill in the sense that she's an evil psychopath. Now, we saw that she got convictions for driving under the influence. Well, she never got convicted for driving under the influence, but fleeing from the police, crashing her car into a tree, you know, or then trying to flee again. You know, she's contemptuous of the police. She's contemptuous of God. She was contemptuous of these in-laws because they believed in God. I think there's some jealousy there with Erin. She's such a jealous person, you know, because, Don and Gail and Ian and Heather, they were just nice people who believed in God, went to church, simple people. And she was contemptuous of that, wasn't she? Because she she probably thought, oh, that was like, I don't know, in her twisted mind, she's so much more intelligent. What did she say? Fuck 'em, that family. That's what she said about them. Fuck 'em. That's how she felt about these people, these nice people who had helped her, prayed for her when she lied about having cancer. She sat there, watched them eat that meal, every mouthful of it, and then she sat down with them and prayed. They prayed for her because she told them she had cancer, which she never had. She's evil. This is probably what's so evil, this case, because it's not a crime of passion. Everyone in the moment, in the heat of a moment, can do things that they might regret, or even if they've been drinking or they're under substance abuse. Erin, it was none of that. This was planned, cold, calculating. It wasn't a crime of passion. It was a nasty crime. But anyway, so Patterson's parents both died. Parents-in-law, Don and Gail both died after the lunch, along with Gail's sister Heather. Heather's husband Ian survived after spending weeks in hospital. Right, let's see what updates we've got here. Let's watch this. I'm going to put this on. I'm going to get my makeup and things. I'm going to be doing that while we're talking.
There's still a lot of media gathered, domestic media, international media, podcasters,
Now it'll be chaos there at the moment, won't it? You just know it will be. Oh, sorry. Where's it gone?
And she did that with murderous intent. That's what they were asked to consider. And in terms of the prosecution's case, they essentially outlined 4 calculated deceptions that they say Erin Patterson carried out. This was in the closing of Dr. Nanette Rogers SC address to the jury. She said that Erin Patterson had lied about having cancer to create a reason for the lunch, that she'd hidden those death cap mushrooms in the individual beef Wellingtons, that she deliberately sought those out, that she pretended to be unwell after the lunch because she knew that it would look suspicious if she wasn't unwell like her guests, and that she engaged in cover-up after the lunch, that she lied about foraging and she lied about owning a dehydrator because she knew that it would look suspicious. Now, the defence's case is that Erin Patterson, of course, didn't deliberately seek out death cap mushrooms. It was all a tragic accident.
But this is obviously a case that's captivated the attention of the world. I can see some journalists around you outside the courtroom. Have you seen anyone exiting the court, or any of Erin Patterson's supporters, for example?
Yeah, we did see one of Erin Patterson's friends leave the court. She's been in court most days, and she actually made a comment. She said that she was saddened by the jury's guilty verdict. She said, "I didn't have any expectations. It's the justice system, and it has to be what it is." She said, "I'm her friend. I'll see her. I'll visit her." We also saw the lead detective in this case, Stephen Eppingstall, leave the court. Victoria Police has released a statement. He didn't give any comment, but Victoria Police acknowledged the work of its homicide detectives during this complex investigation.
Oh, so these pictures, these must be of Erin as she's been taken away, is it? Or, yeah? Good. Oh, sorry. I think
You've obviously been watching this case very closely. Can you explain to our viewers what the mood's been like over the course of this trial in the courtroom?
Yeah, I mean, it's been very busy. You might know that, even in the morning, sometimes from 6 o'clock in the morning, there would be members of the public lining up to get a spot in the courtroom. And especially when Erin Patterson was delivering her testimony, they were really busy days in court. She was in the witness box for 8 days. And there are some people out here, some court watchers, they're actually standing right next to me, who have been here pretty much every day of the trial, giving up their day jobs essentially just to sit in and watch this play out. So there's been a lot of interest for sure.
And Alex, so the jury's delivered their verdict finding Erin Patterson guilty. What happens next in the process?
Yeah, so now we'll move on to the sentencing process. So we'll have sentencing hearings. So both parties, the prosecution and the defence, will make submissions, arguments to the judge, Justice Christopher Beale, about factors that they think the judge should take into account when he's sentencing Erin Patterson. So that may take, a few hearings. We may also hear victim impact statements from affected friends and family. We're not sure just yet. So that'll take place over the next, coming weeks, coming months. And then Justice Christopher Beale will hand down his sentence. We haven't heard word from the defence team of any type of appeal on foot. We did see Erin Patterson's defence lawyer leave the court today, but he didn't make a comment.
Alexandra, thanks so much for your time and your insights on what is a huge story today.
Yep, a huge story. So,
to discuss, I should say.
So, thing is, I don't think they're going to appeal. How can they appeal? They had nothing. They had nothing, did they? It's interesting to hear a friend supposedly say that she was disappointed in the justice system. God, I feel relieved in the justice system. Erin was clearly guilty, but, her defence tried their best to defend her. But how could they defend her? She had no defence. She was the only witness they called. She spoke for 3 days. They brought no experts to help defend her. They brought nothing else to defend her. Now, I don't know if that's true, KD, what you say there. I saw on Reddit that her cat died shortly before the lunch, and the prosecution weren't allowed to bring it up in court because the cat wasn't tested, but they think it might be a trial run. Wouldn't surprise me. Nothing would surprise me about this woman. And I'll tell you what, those children are lucky they're not going to be brought up by her anymore. She's not a nice person. She just isn't. Hi, Tracy. So, just wouldn't surprise me one bit. This woman does not care about anybody else except herself. She's living in this world in her head. In the Facebook group, she was commenting on another case, wasn't she? She's the super sleuth, according to them. This, that, and the other. I don't feel any sympathy for her whatsoever. She was there commenting on another case, giving her 2 pennyworth. So why shouldn't everybody else? She's just nasty. Miss Moneybags. Oh yeah, as long as you bow down to me, worship at the sort of the throne of Erin, the queen bee. And then as soon as they didn't want to worship at her anymore, she planned this. She did plan it as well. It's not crime of passion. She didn't just suddenly think the day before, go and get some death cap mushrooms and put them in these beef Wellingtons. She was rehearsing for it, wasn't she? Practicing, putting mushrooms in the children's muffins just to see that the hydrator would make them powder them. So they could be powdered after dehydrating. So they wouldn't get noticed. That's what the point. That was trial run as well, wasn't it? What she was doing, putting mushrooms in everything. They were her own words. So thank God Ian survived, because Ian's testimony as well was important. Because imagine if Ian wouldn't have been there, if Ian would have died as well. So there'd be nobody to testify. That the plates were different shapes and different sizes, different colours. Only Simon, because I think it was his mum, did comment to him about it. But Simon wasn't there, so his testimony wouldn't have been taken so seriously. But Ian, he lived to tell the story, and his testimony was very important, I think. And also because he comes over as such a genuine guy. I know I keep saying it, but these were just nice people. They weren't, maybe spectacular in any way, like Erin thought she was. She thought she was spectacular. And these people, they didn't want to be spectacular, just normal, nice people, in a community, brought up their families in the golden years of their lives. And she took it all from them, and they never did her any harm. The only harm they did to Erin was forgot to invite her to a birthday party. That's the only harm they ever did to Erin. Horrible woman. Have I just watched that one? Anyway. Oh, we've got Erin's friend talking outside the court we're going to look at in a minute. Oh, yeah. This is Erin in the prison van before the trial, apparently. So there'll be a lot now released to the public that couldn't be released before. Erin, just brought it all on yourself. Yeah, so this is Erin arriving in the law courts in the back of a prison van. So amongst those outside court are some of the members of the public who've been regularly attending the trial's hearings, including David. Oh, David, didn't know you were there, who lives in the Gippsland region. He says he actually ran into members of one of the legal teams involved during the lunch break and understands he was the one to break news of the impending verdict to them. I actually showed them my phone so they could see the banner, the breaking news. So the buzzer must have gone off, isn't it? So the golden buzzer must have gone off, and then everybody would have been rushing back into the courtroom. I mean, there was a lot of people there. Look at all these people, my God. So he says it was surreal to be inside a packed courtroom floor as the jury delivered its guilty verdicts. He says, having sat in on the trial, he believes the jury did a tremendous job in the difficult task of digesting the volume of evidence presented. They did do a terrific job. They've taken all this time. It's taken a week, basically, hasn't it? Obviously, they don't sit every day. A week of court time to come to this decision. They've taken it seriously. They've gone through there was a lot to go through, wasn't there? He says his close-up observation of the justice system has impressed on him the great minds on both defence and prosecution sides. Oh, sorry, I forgot to show the comments. All the little elements of it all put together are just so incredible, he says. He says he's planning to stay in touch with friends he's made since being at the courtroom. God, imagine that. Like, maybe you start going out with someone and you end up getting married and it's like, where did you meet? Oh, we met at Erin Patterson's trial. In a statement, the Victoria Police spokesperson says their thoughts are with the families affected. Our thoughts are with the respective families at this time, and we acknowledge how difficult these past 2 years have been for them. We will continue to support them in every possible way following this decision. And they say that the Patterson and Wilkinson families have asked for privacy and would not be supplying a statement via Victoria Police. And the spokesperson also acknowledged homicide squad detectives and the wider police force for their work on the complex investigation. Yeah, they should take a round of applause as well, because, it was a complex case, and someone like Erin, factory resetting her phone once when it was actually in police custody. That to me, and the comment she made about it when she said, Oh, I couldn't believe they'd be so stupid to leave it on, the internet connected. So I just thought I'd see what happened. You know, these sort of comments, this is what has made me hate Erin even more, because she's not even got the humility, to just not be contemptuous of the police, just not, why did she just not be supercilious to everybody? She's a horrible, nasty person. Aside from what she's done, she thinks she's so special. She really does. She's more special than everybody else. And don't forget, this is Erin. She supposedly had a terrible childhood. That's what she said, wasn't it? This awful childhood she had. Didn't seem to me that she had an awful childhood. She's a millionaire, basically, essentially. She's done all right, really. She had everything to live for, but you know what? She's so jealous, bitter, evil. People like Erin, doesn't matter what they've got, they'll always want more. Always want more. Because that's the sort of people they are. So police informant, detective leading senior constable, my God, that's a long title, Stephen Eppinstall, who gave evidence during the trial, left the court precincts moments ago. He did not stop to speak, nor did Erin Patterson's defence barrister, Colin Mandy SC, who just left, with the rest of her legal team. His legal team, Colin is a man. Do you know, they do get things wrong, don't they? There he is. There's Colin. Yeah. Now, Colin, to be fair, let's have a look at a closer up picture of Colin. Colin had an uphill task, didn't he? He had no chance, really. He had no defence to work for. And as I say, basically the defence ended up being just, I told loads of lies, but I'm not lying now. Now everybody else is lying. I was lying, I've told lies, but now everyone else is lying, not me. So he did have an uphill task, but at the end of the day, it's up to the prosecution to prove guilt. The defence does not have to prove innocence. The defence really technically doesn't have to do anything. Might have been better not to call Erin, really. But maybe that was Erin who decided she wanted to be called, because Erin would think she could manipulate the jury, just like she's manipulated everybody all her life. So I could see that could be Erin who insisted on speaking, because normally a defence lawyer will not advise their client to speak up in their own defence. Doesn't normally go down well, does it? But I can imagine, can't you imagine that Erin, I love them, I didn't do it, I love them. Erin, the liar and the manipulator, she thinks she could get round the jury. Erin, who didn't even get their names right when she was talking about them, she would definitely think she could get round the jury, wouldn't she? So the star of the show as well then really is Nanette Rogers. She's the one that brought in 50 different witnesses that presented a prosecution or a case. It was difficult because there was no one thing in this case, was there? It was the accumulation of so many small things led up to the big thing. The lies, lying about having a dehydrator. Erin was caught off guard. She wasn't expecting the hospital. Again, underestimated the hospital, didn't she? She wasn't expecting the hospital to realise it was the culprit was these death cap mushrooms so quickly. And of course, then the fact that she discharged herself after 5 minutes of being told she might need a liver transplant, that was telling, wasn't it? She had to go and prepare her daughter's ballet bag for ballet. I mean, with the more you think about it, it's ludicrous. And she was told that her children should be tested because they might have eaten these things that will kill him. And she didn't want to take them to hospital. And then they kept saying, oh, well, you know, even Simon said, oh, Erin didn't like hospitals, but she wanted to be a nurse. She wanted to be a nurse and a midwife. Oh, my God, can you imagine? Can you imagine this woman as a nurse or a midwife? How many more bodies would she leave behind her? So this, of course, is Simon, her ex-husband, or I think they're not divorced, are they? I wonder if he'll divorce her now. They're separated. This is Ian. He turned up for the trial every day. I mean, he gave evidence, of course, and then he turned up every day. He only stopped going when the jury went into deliberation mode. Probably couldn't face it. This, of course, is the judge, Justice Beale. I put the wig on him. He don't wear a wig. So, yeah, this is similar, not the dehydrator, but a similar dehydrator to the one that was used to dehydrate the death cap mushrooms, the one that Erin dumped. And of course, the reason she dumped it, she said, was because Simon had made a comment about, oh, did you use that dehydrator to kill my parents? So it frightened her. So that's why, instead of going to the police and saying, oh, this is the dehydrator that I used to dry those mushrooms, no, she could have said that she'd foraged the mushrooms and didn't realise they were death cap mushrooms. You know, if that was the truth, if it genuinely was an accident. So don't forget, Erin initially said she'd never foraged for mushrooms. She said she'd never used the dehydrator. And then now in the court case, she suddenly, yes, she had foraged for mushrooms and she had this dehydrator. And the only reason she didn't tell the police about it was because of Simon, because he frightened her by his comments. You know, she just like, can't believe. It's like, how do you know when Erin Patterson's lying? It's like when her lips are moving, isn't it? Just couldn't get any more than being any more of a liar than her, could you, really? So the ABC, oh, they've got rolling coverage. Let's see if I can find that. So what does it say? Tune in at the video at the top of the blog. Now, I don't know when they'll give the verdict. Let's just, I need to save that. Oh, she'd be mad about those pictures. So, this is how the journalist describes it. There were tears from some in the public gallery as the verdicts were handed down, but Erin Patterson herself remained impassive and showed no signs of emotion. And surviving lunch guest Ian Wilkinson was not in court to see the woman who killed his wife convicted of murder. Let's have a look at this.
Hello.
Oh, this is her friend.
How are you feeling?
I'm saddened, and it is what it is. Thank you.
Did you have a chance to talk to Erin, though?
Were
Did you think that Erin was capable of something like this? She's a triple murderer.
Were you expecting your friend to be found not guilty? I didn't have any expectations of the justice system, and it has to be what it is.
What did Erin say to you in the moments before
What did you
she
say
was
to
taken
Erin
away?
when that verdict came down?
Ali, she said to you, see you soon. Were you hoping to see her?
I will.
Was
see
Erin
her.
confident that she would walk? Those tarps went up at her house.
Was she positive that she would walk free?
Ali, when you say you will see her again, do you believe she will appeal this verdict?
I'm her friend, and I'll see her. I'll visit with her.
Was Erin confident that she would walk today? Did you think she was going to get out?
I don't know.
How do you think she was feeling in that moment?
I don't know.
Do you believe her that this was an accident?
I mean, who is this woman?
It's for you.
What do you think she would want to say to the families, to her extended family that have lost their lives?
I could just get to my car, guys. I'm doing really good now. Thank you.
Come on, guys, enough here.
Thank you.
It's a bit unfair to cry. Who is she? You know, I didn't know she had any friends. But anyway, there you go. She's got one, apparently. So, Erin Patterson's friend appeared emotional as she walked out of court, telling reporters, "It is what it is." I'm sorry, I just don't feel any sympathy for her whatsoever. I literally don't. My sympathies, right, they lie with the 3 people who died, and Ian, who had to go through what he went through. That's where my sympathies are. Have a look at this.
From the US may mean that we need to take on a bigger responsibility for understanding and interpreting the data. As I said, good science means good policy, and that's what we want to see.
Well, we await to hear those figures when they're available. Look, just lastly, you are a former Liberal Energy Minister in New South Wales. How disappointing is it to see the coalition at a federal level still wrestling with climate policy? Susan Lee, for example.
This is not talking about Erin Patterson, is it? So I won't be watching that. See, one update. So they're saying there's a possibility she could appeal the decision. Oh, well, I hope she doesn't appeal it, to be honest, because, what's she going to say in her appeal? She's got nothing. She's got no defence. She has got no defence unless something comes up. Let's see if I can find some other videos for us to watch. Where's all the there's all the news videos about it? Hang on. Well, they've all got this picture on of her. Let's watch this. So apparently her eyes were fixed on the jury. There's got to be a video somewhere. Let's try and have a look at this. I don't know. I can't seem to get into. Can't seem to get into these news videos. It might be a bit soon. Now, I've got to go soon because I've got classes, but I will be on later to talk about this, and there'll probably be more reaction. I think so far I've more or less. Let's see. They're all full of this this image of Erin. Oh, she'll be going mad. Good. I hope she's going mad. She won't be happy about this image being released, will she? Good. I have absolutely no sympathy for Erin. Erin, she had everything, really. 2 lovely children. Although she was separated from Simon, they had this relationship. She had money. She had a good life. But she still was vindictive, nasty, etc. I just don't get it at all. Hi, Julie. Yes, I am glad. Yeah, I am glad that this is over, I must admit. I'm also glad that the right verdict has been, in my eyes, is the only verdict that it could have been. But of course, it could. I'm saying that, but it could have been not guilty. It could have been a hung trial, a mistrial. It could have been all those things. So it could have been all those things. Bye, Angel. Have a good day. Yeah, I'll be back later. I'm going to go in a minute anyway because I've got stuff to do before my class. I've got quite a lot of classes today. but I've got a sort of break around sort of 1 o'clock Spanish time. I think that's when I'll cook, and what I'll do is I'll come back on then round about 1:30 Spanish time. Yeah, Maria, I mean, she was cleared many years later, wasn't she? But, you know, anyway, I don't see it like that case, because that Azaria Chamberlain case was, you know, that was the dingo that took the baby, wasn't it? I don't think, you know, even if, well, I don't know if people still believe that Lindsay Chamberlain might be still guilty. Was it Lindsay, the mum's name? But even if you thought that she was guilty, I think it's been proven, isn't it, that she wasn't, because the baby's clothes were found weren't they found in the hyena's lair or something? It's not like this case, is it? Erin has planned this for months, if not years. You know, it's not similar, is it, Maria? You know, where even if you thought that maybe Lindsay Chamberlain was guilty, it would have been perhaps an accident or something, you know, it wouldn't be like this. This is chilling. She really is the Lady Macbeth of murderesses, you know. Hi, Excel. Yeah, she was innocent. She was found innocent, wasn't she? Innocent in the end. But what do you understand? I'm not saying she was guilty. I'm saying that even if you did think she was guilty, it's not like this case, because it's a completely different. It was more of this is planned evil case from this woman, isn't it? No, you couldn't get much more evil than what this woman did to these poor people, in my opinion. Oh, let me just show this. So, a short time ago, Simon Patterson was seen leaving his home. He's probably going to see Ian or go. He has not spoken to the media or released any statement since the guilty verdict was delivered this afternoon. Now, remember the house, Erin's house, was covered with all that black stuff that supposedly supporters of Erin. There's only one supporter of Erin that I've heard of. That was that woman, that friend. I mean, I don't even know who she is. No, and they said that supporters of Erin covered the house with that black tarpaulin, but I think that was probably Erin paid someone to do it because she thought she was going to get released. So he's probably gone to see the kids, maybe even Simon. I don't know where the kids are at the moment. Are they with Simon? You know, are they in child protective custody? You know, my heart does feel for those children. But you know what? It's Erin who's done it to them. Erin did it. Nobody else did it but Erin. Erin, convicted of 3 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder. Erin Patterson, a murderer. You know, at the end of the day, she is a murderer. She's now a convicted murderer. Anyway, I'll be back later to talk about it a bit more. Hi, Moonbeam. Sorry. Oh, hi, David. Yeah, sorry, I'm just going. So I'll see you later. And until then, now it sort of feels good, of course, that Erin has been found guilty, but also it's a shame for her children. It doesn't bring these poor people back, of course. But do you know what? I feel like today we have had some justice for these poor people, for Don, for Gail, for Heather and Ian. They have had some justice. What the fallout from it all will be, I don't know, but for as far as it's concerned at the moment, I'm glad that this verdict came out. Okay, I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, may your God go with you. Bye.